Well, I've accidentally not realized it. Like someone was done, and then like immediately I started like a song, and the mic was just sitting at a table, and it was on. I completely forgot to mute the channel. Normally, what would happen is it would just horrible feedback either from the bass, or if it's facing the speaker, you get high frequency feedback. Usually, what will happen, you'll hear it, and you go, oh shoot, you got to adjust it. With this one, you just don't have to worry about if you said it right.
Hey, what's going on, guys? It is DJ MOJOE, saving the city one party at a time. I want to welcome everybody here for another video on my YouTube channel. And in this video, I'm here with my DJ friend, DJ Jazz from Jazz Productions. And we're going to be talking about digital mixers, and specifically the Bose T8S. So if you're new to my YouTube channel, I want to welcome you here. And if you are a current subscriber, thank you for subscribing and tuning in to another one of my videos. This video is intended for all the DJs out there who are using their DJ controllers and are looking for another way to have or run separate sound using a mixer. And if you're interested in learning more about this, stay tuned in this video. I hope you walk away with something useful. Who knows, maybe you may start using some digital mixers at your own events. So without further ado, let's begin. Let's show you what we have today. So I'm here with DJ Jazz, and it's really great how we bump into each other. Got to know each other through YouTube?
YouTube.
Yeah, and we met up, and he's a local DJ here in Southern California. I've learned so much from him. One of the things I learned was the QLXD24, using that as a wireless receiver so you can have satellite and wireless sound. But we're not gonna talk about that today. We're gonna talk about the mixers. He got me into buying the Bose T8S, and now I'm gonna be using it at my events. I'm excited, and there's so much potential about this mixer that we're about to share with you, and why it could be a game changer for your events. There's so many things, and I was convinced of how many uses that you can use this mixer, and he's a very knowledgeable guy out here. I definitely learned a lot, and one of the things I've learned being in this industry is that there's going to be people who know way more than you. And I mean, I feel so humbled by this guy. Like he knows his stuff, and I really just want to share his experience, his knowledge, and how he applies this digital mixer for his events. So I'm excited to introduce to you DJ Jazz from Jazz Productions. Jazz, tell us about yourself.
All right, I'm DJ Jazz from Jazz Productions, based here in Southern California, and I do a lot of mobile events, a lot of weddings. And one of the things I realized when I started DJing is I need more inputs, and a lot of these DJ controllers are small mixers. Battle mixers and stuff only have so many inputs, and the inputs they have are not very clean, especially for mics. And so when you go out to your main system, you're pretty limited in what you can do. At minimum, I always recommend getting a small analog. Yamaha mixer is one of the most popular choices out here. You can get a smaller version, and that way you have control over your mics and your controller going to your main speakers. But even this becomes limited, and this is where the Bose mixer, the digital mixer, comes in handy. You can do a lot more, and you can save scenes. And once you get one of these, you're never going to want to DJ without it.
So we have some mixers here with us today. This is one of the mixers that I have and use, is the Yamaha MG 10XU. I don't use this at my events, only when needed, when sometimes musicians need to hook up to my mixer, then I use this. I also use this for live streaming on Beat Fever when I share my mixes online. The one that I use at my events is the Yamaha MG6, which is a smaller version of this, but I just bring it here today to compare with the new mixer that I got. This is the Bose T8S, and DJ Jazz uses the T4S, but this is the mixer from Bose that has many outputs and many inputs that you can use. So I'm going to ask DJ Jazz, like, why the Bose? What attracted you to getting the Bose digital mixers?
Well, I was using a mixer like this. I was using a Mackie mixer instead of the Yamaha, very similar to this. And what I realized is it just doesn't have enough EQ control for mic inputs. So I actually was doing a lot of wedding ceremonies and realized I needed more EQ. So I could have gone out and bought like a separate rack of EQs and done stuff like that, which is highly recommend. If you want to go that route, you can. But if you want something in a smaller package, having a digital mixer with the Bose allows a parametric EQ, and you can dial out feedback so easily, something that you're just limited on an analog mixer or a mixer with no parametric EQ.
So this is one of my mixers that I have, the Yamaha MG 10XU. This is not the mixer that I use at all of my events. I use the Yamaha MG6. X. For my events, which is a little bit smaller, I just really recommend having a separate mixer to your DJ controller just for more flexibility, more control of your mics, and it has a better mic preamp built in. So it's just overall better sound, more headroom, and it's just so much better. I recently purchased the Bose T8S, although there is a T4S model, which is a little bit smaller, but I was convinced after talking to DJ Jazz about getting one, and he told me some great applications on how he uses this at his events. So I'm excited to share DJ Jazz and some information, what he has to share with you guys and why he uses this. So DJ Jazz mentioned to me earlier how he uses this Bose T8S or T4S for his wedding ceremonies. How do you find this digital mixer helpful for you?
So yeah, the main reason I actually got into these mixers was not even for the main sound system. I got him for the ceremony use because I use an omnidirectional lapel microphone, and they're very, very prone to feedback. So a lot of people will end up scrapping them and using handhelds, but I like the clean look you get from a lapel. So I was figuring out, how can I battle with all this adjusting EQ settings to get feedback out? So at first I had the analog mixer similar to this Yamaha, and you could take out the highs and the lows and get a much better sound than doing nothing. But I was finding I still needed adjustment. So you can get, though, a lot of companies make like feedback suppressors, like the DBX Go Rack. DBX has a couple other lines. There's different companies that make feedback suppressors, but I always came back to the Bose because the Bose allows manual adjustment with the Parametric EQ, and we can show you how to do that here.
Jazz just talked about is about how he uses the Bose T8S to minimize feedback. What he told me, he uses an omnidirectional lavalier mic for this wedding ceremony, and sometimes that could be problematic as it could have some feedback. And he's going to share us right now how he uses the Bose T8S to minimize feedback. How do you said Parametric EQ?
Parametric EQ.
Parametric EQ.
So the way I use the Parametric EQ is, once you have actually your lows, mids, and highs adjusted to your liking, and you still have feedback, which you probably will with an omnidirectional lapel microphone, you go into the Parametric EQ and you find the frequency that's feeding back. You dial it down, not necessarily that much, but you might need to, and then you control the width of your curve. And what this does is it gives you a really nice adjustment to pinpoint the frequency that's feeding back, much more so than any graphic EQ or 3-band EQ on an analog mixer will.
Well, I saw earlier that there was a band pass, like you chose like 50. How do we go back to that setting?
The way you actually start with this mixer is you start with the tone match presets, and one of the presets is a 50 hertz to 5 kilohertz band pass. And what that does is it kills everything below 50 and kills everything above 5, which is a pretty good starting point for outdoor ceremonies or indoor, and it will kill a lot of your bass right there without even having to go to any of the EQs. So I start there, and then I work my way to the next level, which is your 3-band EQ. And then, as I said before, we go into the Parametric EQ. So with these 3 different adjustments that the Bose mixer allows, you can essentially dial all feedback out.
And one of the great things about this digital mixer, and I know sometimes we have everything set up. One of the things that you could do is save your scene. So I go back to scenes. I could save whatever settings we have. I could hit save, and I have it set to MOJOE 1, which is me. I'm going to select and hit save. There we go. So it's really great how there's different ways how to reduce feedback. One is you went to tone match and you set it for the 50 hertz to 5 kilohertz band pass, so that kind of eliminated from reduces the low end and reduces the high end. And you can even go further by going to the Parametric EQ and really trying to zone out what frequency that's really causing the feedback and bring it down.
So everybody knows you can go out and get a Parametric EQ, you can get a graphic EQ, you can get different processing units to do all these things, but what's nice about the Bose mixer is it's all in one unit and you can save it. I could have a whole rack of things to do all these things to eliminate feedback, but if you have something in a small device, and they, like MOJOE said, they make a smaller version, the T4S, which is what I use. It's like half the size of this. It's even more compact, and to be able to do that all within one mixer and save your scenes is amazing. I haven't found any other company that makes something that allows you to do that in one unit.
So right now, let me share with you how I'm going to use this Bose T8S when I DJ. I'm going to use channels 1 and 2 for my controller. I'm going to connect my controller into these two inputs. This one is going to be my personal handheld microphone with the SM58. This is going to be the microphone that could be used for the ceremony. I could hook up a lapel mic right here, and I have 4 extra channels. I could use this channel, and I could use change my presets here. I could adjust this 5th channel to be set for the microphone that I'm going to hand out to the person who will be using for speeches or anything like that. And I still have 6, 7, and 8 for whatever. I could hook up an iPod. I could hook up another instrument. Sometimes we may have another guitarist who may want to hook up, so I could use it here, apply some effects. So everything is all set. I like this compact version of it. And what we're going to talk about right now is the connections in the back and the output, especially the aux outputs. And DJ Jazz told me about this wireless solution using the Shure QLX D24 with the body pack transmitter, and we hook it up into one of these aux outputs right here, which will send a signal to one of the satellite speakers out there, and you have full control of what goes out to this aux output. So DJ Jazz, show us how it's done.
So one of the things I've grown to really love about these Bose mixers is the flexibility on the aux output. What this mixer does is it allows you to have separate control of your inputs through the aux outputs. So on the aux output, I can have channel 1 at a different volume than channel 2. And what that does is if I have a satellite speaker, you don't want necessarily DJ music blasting out of there, but you want your mics nice and loud for speeches, I can have that ability where I can control the mics on those outputs to be different volumes from the DJ music, or really any of the inputs. And that's something that is so useful, and we'll show you here in a second. We have all the different levels that we can, or all the different inputs that we can control. So right now I'm on channel 1. You can see they light up on these Bose mixers. You can see on the screen as I go through different ones, there's different outputs, and that's on purpose. So for example, this input has a much a louder output going to the aux 1 versus this one. And the reason for that is this right here is the DJ controller, which is your DJ music. We don't want that as loud on the opposite side of the room, but we definitely want our speeches to be nice and loud, and that's what it does. So coming off the aux output connection, we're able to adjust each level of the input at a different volume.
I mean, what is this post? What does that mean for those DJs who don't know?
So you can have different settings. I usually leave it on post because any of the tone match presets, like the Parametric EQ that we adjust to get all that feedback out of our handheld mics for people giving speeches, you're gonna probably want all those settings applied to the aux. And what that does is it allows you to do post. So if you do pre, it bypasses all the settings that you have, which maybe you'll use that, but I found that post is definitely gonna be more effective because if you're dialing feedback out, you're probably gonna wanna keep that through all your speakers in the room.
Got it. So post applies all the adjustments you made, and then it gets applied to that aux output.
Including the volume too. So like if I turn down this volume, it's gonna turn it down on the aux. This is with EQ in effect, so the volume will actually not do anything. Dry is gonna be nothing, no preset. So this actually keeps, the pre will keep your EQ in effects, but it doesn't do the volume, whereas the dry doesn't do anything. It's no volume, it's just basically a secondary output. I like the post because you're gonna want all your controls and all your settings you've dialed in to reflect on the other speakers in the room. So there's nothing really special about the Bose mixer that it's able to send these separate aux outs. That's actually a very common feature on bigger mixers. But the point for especially mobile DJs, wedding DJs doing private events is compactness, and you want everything in a small unit. And rather than going out and buying that big Yamaha mixer and having all those separate auxes that take up a whole table and a full rack of parametric and EQs and compressors and all that, everything you can do within this unit, and that's why I like it. It's not that this has other features that you can't go out and buy then from another unit, but it's all in one unit and it's digital, which means you can recall settings. It actually saves your last setting, and everything's in one unit. And that's the main point of using this, that instead of going out and buying racks, you get it all in one unit.
Saw that on the Bose T8S that there is a comp/gate. And what does that exactly mean on the mixer?
So yeah, I don't actually use the compressor. If you know how to use a compressor and you want to get into that, you can. I mainly use it for the noise gate. And what I do is I set it so that essentially it acts as a mute switch when someone's not using the mic. So if somebody's speaking and they're done speaking, it will actually mute itself without me having to like really quickly turn it down. And you know, we're busy as DJs, we're focused on everything, what's about to happen next, we're queuing up a song. So if somebody's saying something and then they're done, or they put it on the table and it's like facing the speakers, rather than feeding back, it's actually, it's not going to do anything. It's going to be as if the microphone is off, because I've set it to when you're not speaking, it automatically mutes effectively. That's what the noise gate is doing. Another awesome feature. Again, you could go out and buy a separate piece to do that, but when you have it all in one unit, it's awesome.
And with that, I guess that helps reduce feedback too, because imagine
Absolutely.
There is no gate, and then they hold the mic down, or they just rest it somewhere and it picks up the low end or whatever.
Yeah, well, I've accidentally not realized it. Like, someone was done, and then like immediately I started like a song, and the mic was just sitting at a table, and it was on. I completely forgot to mute the channel. Normally, what would happen is, it would just horrible feedback, either from the bass, or if it's facing the speaker, you get high frequency feedback. Usually, what will happen, you'll hear it, and you go, oh shoot, you got to adjust it. With this one, you just don't have to worry about if you set it right.
On the Bose T8S, we were talking about how there's different scenes, and tell us, how do you use these scenes?
Mainly the scenes, the point of the scene is to save a scene for, let's say if you do like a room often, you can, and you know that room is kind of funky and has some weird settings that's different than the average room, you can save it and call it Biltmore or something. Like, that's the venue you go to, and you know it has some different settings, and it's very useful. I can have quite a bit of scenes in there, and you save different venues that's like the intended purpose. But what I actually use it for a lot actually is A, B, and settings. So you can save a scene, set your parametric EQ how you like it, and then do another scene, set it a little differently, and then do an A, B back and forth on the fly and find out which one sounds better, which is amazing for finding out problems and what is best on your adjustments, because you'll get in there and start adjust. There's so much to adjust on here, and you're not sure if that was better than another adjustment. So rather than dialing it back in and trying to remember what it sounded like, you save both scenes, and then you just A, B back and forth, and you can totally tell the difference between the two different scenes, and then you pick your favorite.
So DJ Jazz, tell us how you use this Bose T8S on your setups. Since it's not rack mountable, like, how do you use this thing?
I have a couple of these. I have one for my ceremony setup and one for my main setup, the DJ setup, but I actually don't use the T8S. I found that I don't need all those inputs. I bought the less expensive, still has all the same features. It's called the T4S. It's half the size and it's smaller. I just find it really, for my use, to be better. There's no downsides of going with the 8. There's only positive, you get more inputs. And what I do, it's a tabletop mixer, so you don't rack mount it. For my main setup, I have my coffin with like the sliding tray a lot of people have with the laptop up there. So right next to the laptop on the tray is the T4S that sits right next to it. So if I'm like typing or up on the laptop, my controls are all right here, and then I have the DJ mixer below. The way I do it, everything's pre-wired, comes up through those holes that are built into the cases, and then all the wires come through, and the T4S just sits up on top on the sliding tray right there. And so I have everything at my fingertips. If I need to control volume for my mics, somebody else's mic, my controller, everything's done, all the processing's done at your fingertips, not in a separate rack, which I like. I like everything that's all within my coffin. I don't have to have a separate rack of anything.
DJ Jazz, thank you so much for talking about how you use the Bose digital mixer, the T4S or the T8S, and how you do your weddings and events. So let's drive it home. I mean, like, what do you have to say about this?
Honestly, I think every DJ should have the toe match mixers. At least get an analog mixer like we talked about, but you outgrow that and you realize you have so much more control off the Bose mixers, especially with the aux output. Being able to send different signals to your aux output is unbelievable. It's one of those things, I don't know how I DJ'd before until I had this, and you're able to really control and fine tune your sound, especially when you do satellite speakers, dialing down feedback. It's just all in one unit, and the thing sounds incredible. It's a very clean mixer. So again, I've reiterated, you can go buy a rack and have different processors to do all this stuff, or you can buy a processor and then you have another mixer, but that's more units. I'm all about compactness and efficiency, and this unit offers it all in one unit. There's just nothing I have found. If somebody knows something, let me know, but this to me is the best unit I have found. It's all one unit. It does everything any type of mobile DJ would ever need to do. So that's why I like the Bose T4S or T8S, either one. Thing to note, if you want to save some money and you're wanting to get into these Bose digital mixers, you can buy the older one. I think it's discontinued now, but you can buy them used for pretty cheap, for like a couple $100, instead of spending several $100s. And you can get the T1, which is really the same thing as the T4S. The main difference is that you don't get stereo output on the T1, which honestly for us DJs, I don't find the stereo output to be that huge of an advantage on the T4S, because a lot of times when we have like a speaker on opposite side of the room from the other speaker, if a crowd or dancers are dancing next to one speaker, it doesn't matter that it's stereo unless you're in that sweet spot. So if you want to save money, I actually use the T1 for my main DJ setup and use the T4S for my ceremony rig. So if you want to save money, go check out the T1.
All right, so folks, follow him on Instagram. Give the plug.
Yeah, so it's Jazz, JAS_Productions. Jazz Productions.
Hey guys, so there you have it. I hope you guys enjoy this video. For all the DJs out there who are considering about getting another mixer, maybe a digital mixer such as this one, maybe you can consider this and getting it as part of your setup. We're just here to share with you other people's experience, their knowledge, and their applications to the gear that they use in their events, whether it's to save time, efficiency, or getting the results that they want. I mean, these are technology, and we're using technology to our advantage as mobile DJs. So I would be happy to hear your thoughts in the comments section down below. Type it in. I'm gonna have DJ Jazz help me out. If you guys have any questions, he will help out and answer some of your questions down below. Anyways, follow me on Instagram. I'm DJ MOJOE at DJ_Mojo. Thank you so much, Jazz, for having me here. And thank you everybody for watching this video. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe down below. If there's anything else that you want me to talk about in future videos, please let me know. We're all DJs just helping out each other. So thank you guys so much once again. It's DJ MOJOE, saving the city one party at a time. I'll see you in the next video.